Okay, everybody, so welcome back. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about reflecting. Okay, so this is one of the other things we can do to transform a graph, is reflecting a graph. So what does it mean to reflect a graph? Well, reflecting, so it says, means forming a mirror image of a graph across a line. Okay, so forming a mirror image of a graph across a line is called reflecting the graph across a line. Okay, that's it. So we're just flipping, reflecting is just flipping a graph across a given line. Okay, in this case we're going to talk about the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so here's one of our basic functions, the square root function, f of x. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot g of x and h of x. So in g of x, I have a negative, so I'm taking the negative of f of x. So let me just write that down. So this is negative of f of x. This, I'm multiplying the negative 1 times the x value. So this is inside the function. So this would be f of negative x. Okay. So now, in part A, I'm taking all of the values of y, or f of x in this case, right? All these values of y, and I'm making them negative. So what happens if I make all of the positive values of y negative? What am I doing? I'm flipping all of the values that are above the axis, the x-axis, flipping it down below the x-axis. Any part of the graph that's below the x-axis gets flipped up above the x-axis. So this turns out to be a reflection across the x-axis. So if I was to plot this, I would get, so if this is 1, I'm going to get negative 1, 1, right? So negative 1, right? So if this is 1, I get negative 1, so 1, negative 1. And if I put in 4, I get 2, but I get negative 2. So I get down here. And so I end up with something like this. So this is g of x equal to negative f of x, which is equal to that. Okay? Now, what about h of x? Well, h of x is now, what I'm doing is I'm taking all the x values and I'm taking the opposite of them. So all of the x values that are positive are now going to be negative, and all the values that are negative are going to be positive. So I'm taking f of negative x. So what does that look like? Well, let's plot these. So if I say the negative of 1, right? So that's negative 1. Can I take the square root of negative 1? No. So this is going to be undefined, right? In fact, any positive value of x is going to end up undefined. So how do I get a non-negative number under there? I'm going to have to stick in negative values of x. So if I stick in 0, that's fine, I'll get 0. If I stick in negative 1, I'll get positive 1. Ooh, so if I go negative 1, I'm going to get positive 1. So I'm going to get here. Right, there's a point. Now, if I put in negative 4, I'm going to get a positive 4 underneath the radical. And so that's going to give me 2. So the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm going to get negative 4, 2. And look, now what I get is this. And so this is h of x which is equal to what? F of negative x, which is the square root of negative x. Okay? So notice that when I multiply by negative 1, outside the function, it is a reflection across the x-axis. if I multiply the inside of the function, so if I multiply x by -1, then it's a reflection across the y-axis. Okay? And so what I'm doing is all of the values of x that are positive become negative. Okay? And vice versa. And so this is how you do reflections. Okay? So again, just realize that this is a reflection across the x-axis if you multiply by -1 outside the function. This is a reflection across the y-axis. Okay? And I believe that's it. Let's see here. Anything else? Yep, that's it. So again, another thing too is recognize the domain, right? So we should know the domain and range of this function, but also realize that, hey, if we reflect it, you know, how does that change the domain and range of the resulting function? Because it is going to change in each one of these. Okay? So again, this is why knowing the properties and characteristics of those basic functions, those 7 basic functions, are going to help you with this as well. Okay. Have a great day.